My name is Edgar Martin. I recently changed my career. I used to work for the one of the big banks as a business banker.
My name is Ron Burgess. I've been managing people for a long time, decades and decades. And I had a retail store back in the 70s and 80s. Grew it to 7 different stores, opened a manufacturing operation. So it was in the leather goods manufacturing for a while. Then I went to work as a consultant, came out to California. That was in Colorado. Came out to California, was in a national firm for 7 years. And then I started my own firm 30 years ago. So I've been working with small clients. By that, I'm talking about small, small businesses under 500. But for the most part, my clients are between 10 and 150 employees, have been. I've recently retired. I'm on 2 boards, and I'd started a nonprofit group to help people start businesses and new businesses to grow, called Microgiants, and that's where I met Edgar, is with this little Microgiants group. So it's a nonprofit. We're all about trying to help small business people. Edgar and I didn't know this COVID thing was going to happen, and we had some plans similar to what we're doing here, but things really shifted fast for everybody in the whole country, in the whole world. And so we shifted to trying to work with those issues. So that's kind of what we thought we'd kick off with today.
Martin, I recently changed my career. I used to work for the one of the big banks as a business banker. I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and my passion for entrepreneurship overcame my fear. I decided to quit my job to provide as much knowledge as possible to the small businesses out there that have potential to become multi-million-dollar companies, or potential to grow to become successful companies, but often are 1 or 2 degrees of separation. In other words, they are just missing a few people or tools in their life to be able to turn themselves from self-employers into proud owners of businesses that run themselves, enjoy what they love doing. Martín, ¿te gustaría introducir rapidito? Ya.
Okay. Mi nombre es Martín Fregoso. Hemos estado trabajando aquí en la comunidad por 25 años. Llegamos aquí en el 95. Y la familia, ella es mi sobrina, Briana Fregoso. Y hemos estado aquí trabajando desde el 95. Yo vengo de trabajar en restaurantes en Walla Walla, Washington. Y todo el tiempo hemos trabajado en familia para la comunidad y tratando de servir a la comunidad a lo más posible, a nuestras posibilidades, con el gusto de siempre.
To translate real quick, Martin, he's been in the industry in the local community for 25 years in the restaurants. Since '95, he came to Colton, California. It's been a family-run business, and even though right now with the whole COVID situation affecting a lot of the business, they still continue to stay open, innovating and figuring ways how to continue providing value to the community. The reason I brought him again, I'm going to mention this, is I heard about him still, even though struggling, the struggles of the COVID, still going out and donating to our first responders over there at Loma Linda. So I wanted to give a big shout out for that. And I invited him over because I feel Ron, with what he has to offer with knowledge and advice, we wanted to get a real business owner with real scenarios of maybe any of that advice that we can give, help out small business, in this case, restaurants. Completely improvised. The first time we're trying it live like this, and excuse us if there's a lot of errors, but we really wanted to kind of get the content out there as soon as possible. We didn't want perfection become enemy of good in this case.
Well, so part of why we did this is that cash is a big deal, and in one of our Microgiant groups about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I did a cash flow thing, and Martin liked it a lot, and then particularly in the case of what's going on where people have to close and cash has just dried up because they're not doing any business at all. So cash flow is the lifeblood of a business. And when it stops, everything stops. It's not the same thing as making profit or as an income statement, but it is what governs all business. And so when we have a situation like we're in right now, it's like a patient that's bleeding to death. You still have to pay some bills. You have to figure out how you're going to do that. And of course, trying to cope with it is a major issue now for millions of businesses across the country. So yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit more. I don't believe you're open right now, but I think Martin, you are doing walk up to the door and delivery. What kind of extended business are you still doing right now?
Right now, we are just doing to-go orders and delivery through like Grubhub, Postmates, and Uber Eats.
Okay.
But we are open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 8 for just to-go orders for pickup.
Okay.
And taking the precautions necessary with our masks, gloves, and cleaning everything like the cash register, the credit card line, everything. So it can be very sanitary for our customers.
Okay, great. And so your business has obviously fallen tremendously. What percentage of revenue would you say you have maintained versus how much left every day?
Maybe like a 75%.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to talk to your landlord and see if your landlord will do anything for you? It takes today's rent and it puts it sort of over a period of a year or a year and a half and just spreads it out. Period of time, that means your fixed costs are going to go up. And what you've done in terms of laying people off is to get rid of your indirect costs or your variable costs. And so that helps tremendously, but I'm sure you still have other costs that are going on, regardless of whether you have any revenue or not. Can you give us an idea about other fixed costs that are included you have to pay?
The fixed costs are the typical stuff for in this current scenario. They don't have a lot of the non-traditional fixed costs. So it would be utilities, gas, what else? Insurances, things like that, Ron.
Yeah. So that still represents a reasonable amount of money. It's not like it's nothing at all. It's still there. And they may provide forbearance as well, but I doubt if there are very many of them are going to let those go. And your suppliers probably would like to get paid for what you owed them during the last 30 days, right?
There's really no much payables out there in the financial statements other than just
So you sort of pay on delivery, basically.
Pay on delivery.
Hey, well, that's good. That's good. So you don't have a lot, but you have to pay for new things that come as well. So it looks to me like you've got 25% of your revenue, but you still have about 90% of your fixed costs, maybe a little bit more. How many employees did you have, and how many are still working?
12 employees. None of them are still working.
Oh, really? Wow. How many cooks? How many kitchen people out of the 9?
¿Cuánto de cocineros de los 9? 4.
So you still have, your what we would call your variable expenses, those expenses which go up the more business you do because you have more people more waiters and waitresses to help. You've probably gone down by 40%, but your revenue's gone down 75%. So obviously that's a huge pinch.
Recommended formulas, obviously, like the breakpoint even analysis before, and I've seen you use these formulas this restaurant, but any restaurant, on how to approach that.
So there are 4 kinds of expenses. Really, 2 kinds of expenses with 2 attributes. One is fixed expenses, and then the other one are variable expenses. Fixed expenses are the ones that you have to pay just to open the door every day. So rent, utilities, salaried people who just get paid a salary, Those are fixed. Your variable expenses are the ones that go up and down. Like your food cost is the number one variable expense, because the more you sell, the more raw materials you have to buy to cook. And so what we like to do is to figure out what the percentage of your variable expenses are that leaves profit, a margin. So if, for instance, if your food cost is 30%, then that means that every burrito you make 70 cents, and then of the 70 cents, that's the part that goes towards rent and other fixed expenses. And so that's how we can calculate a break even. I doubt seriously that you're breaking even right now. That would be a miracle if you were. So the goal is to figure out how far away from break even you are, so that you can know at what point you'll be making money again.
Maybe an example in the future might not be a bad idea, to actually see real data and real numbers,
Right.
and showing that graph and how it works.
Yeah, that will help to understand the concept. The reason it's nice to know at what point you would break even is to be able to understand if you are going to start making money at some point in the future. So that's the key point there. Once you know how much more business is required, then it helps you understand if you're going to climb a sheer rock face or a gradual mountain path. And so that's the reason that we would go through something like that. But having said that, let's talk a little bit about some of the things you could do to get more business. So there are several things that you can do. One of the main considerations is, I know you're trying to get things done right now, and that's because the pain is right now. You're doing the best you can, and that's terrific, and it's wonderful that you're working hard at it. However, you also want to consider whether or not how long you think this is going to go, because the issue really might be, do you have a kitchen that is set up to do a lot more business than you are that's takeout? Now, I'm just going to assume right now, for the example, I'm going to assume you have lots and lots of capacity because you used to cook lots of meals every day. And so I'm going to assume you've got plenty of capacity. So thinking about the long term is, you'll need to invest money, for instance, in your website, which I did. I've taken a look at your website, and I see that you're already doing some partnerships with Grubhub and so forth, and that's all great. You've got some other partnerships too. That all helps. But one of the things that happens is that I noticed that when I typed in your name, I think it was Grubhub came up first. And so if you're going to be serious about a takeout business, you have to be serious about what you do with the internet. And the question is, what's the investment going to be in order to be able to increase your business substantially? That's another break-even kind of a calculation that would be good to make before you spend a lot of money on that.
Ron, what would you recommend somebody to bring more traffic into their website?
Well, in order for that traffic to be utilized properly, you have to think in terms of, before you worry about the traffic, you have to think in terms of how easy it is to select the items from the menu and how easy it is to order. And that is a substantially different kind of a business, because the online business that has to do with shopping carts is a more expensive issue and takes a little bit more time and effort to put together. But the ones that do a lot of business online allow you to just simply select it, put it in a cart, figure out how the delivery is going to work, and that the whole thing happens as a unit. So, to really grow business a lot, you have to make it very, very easy for people to accomplish their task. And that's a bigger discussion than we can do today. And there may be others who understand shopping carts, a little bit better than I do. I've done a lot of website business. I own a company, still do own a company, not active in it, that used to be the largest website company in the Inland Empire. And so we've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of websites. So I'm very familiar with that. I know more about driving traffic, however.
One thing, Ron, that I kind of added to what you were saying.
Okay.
One thing I'd say, if you're going to start your website and you're going to make ease of use might be a really important thing. Their old menu might not be set up for to go and might increase more of their costs. So maybe be more selective on what menu they put to create that is more cost effective, still gives them the quality, but also gives them the profitability to take on that bigger kitchen, not offer the entire menu.
Right, and that's why it's a fairly large decision as to how far you're going to jump into this. Are you going to really turn your business into something different than it has been? And I think if I were in your position, I would plan on traffic to be slow all summer long, and we may not get back to normal until maybe mid-fall. So that's months and months and months. So it may be worthwhile to do exactly what you're talking about. So in terms of traffic, there are 3 or 4 basic things, and most webmasters can help you with these issues. The very first one is what they call search engine optimization. That has to do with very ample amount of text that is relevant to your business. You need to have somebody who's a good writer who can use the terms that you use for the food that you offer and describe it in much more detail than you might expect that you would describe it in. In other words, you don't say this is a green burrito. You want to explain what the food is, what kind of meat it is, how you cook the meat. All of those very special things that you know that you do, but it's not on your website because not very many people write that effusively as they can speak. So you need lots and lots of content to describe everything on your website. That will help your rankings so that you don't have to use your name to find your website. One of the biggest problems you have online is the name, and that is, Maria's Cafe, Maria's Mexican Food are very common names. And so it's very difficult for you to compete with all of the other Marias literally in the whole country. When I typed in Maria's Mexican Food, I ran into places in Boston and all over the country. So the name that you have as far as online search goes is not the best name possible. And I'm not suggesting to change your name at all. I'm just saying you have to overcome that. Many people make the mistake online of using names that are very poor search terms. So that's number one. Number two is that you need to know as much as possible about people who visit your website and people who are your customers. So I don't know if you have an email database, but you should be developing an email database as soon as possible, and ask them if they mind if you do specials, give them specials from time to time. The way that you can collect that would be multiple ways, including on the website, doing a sign up. When people come in, give them a discount if they give you the email. Those kinds of things. It's hard to collect, but having a good customer list with emails is invaluable.
Great reputation in the community. They do a lot of great things for the community. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that it would be transitioning to their clients to get to now get to know them, because they all know that a lot of people know them in the community. It'd be great for them to collect the data to be known by
right.
them.
Yeah, right.
Their clients.
I think that's a huge asset because they are well known, and the kinds of things you're doing in the community are really good for that. And so when you can, you want to try to communicate both ways. In other words, they see in you because you deliver burritos maybe to the university, or and you want to make sure that you've got good representation on the packaging so that people know where they came from, etc. By the same token, it's much nicer to have a two-way conversation back to them and thank them for things, and you also would like to be able to go to them and give them a discount for, say, a party they're going to have. So you need to have some way to communicate with them, and also along with that, you also need to have permission in order to be able to send emails. This is one of the things that is a new law in California. So you can't just buy lists. There are a lot of companies out there that are really not ethical companies, and they try to sell you a list of a lot of people, and those emails, number one, they don't work. Number two, it's illegal. So you have to do this carefully and yourself over time. It does not happen overnight. It is a very difficult thing to collect. Say 20% of your customers' emails would be a large project. Number three, I would do some online advertising that like Google Ads. Those are very inexpensive depending on the keyword that you use. If you were to advertise for Mexican food, that might be expensive, meaning maybe $1 or $2, $3 a piece every time it's shown. But if you were to use some what we call long tail keywords, which are less well known, things like green burrito, maybe, or hard shell tacos or street tacos, those kinds of things, you may find that you can buy those really inexpensively. And then you watch to see how many people actually click on those to determine how effective that is. Google has some very good tools to help you write the ads so that they are effective. And then you can utilize those once you've determined and it's tested, and you see that people are coming to your website based on those ads. Then you can expand those to a wider geography. Like you could start in Colton, and then you could go to Loma Linda, you could do San Bernardino, and you could expand by city as you find out that it works and drive more business to your website by doing that.
He heard you say the street tacos is a key word, Ron?
Yeah.
And he got excited because he's trying to figure out a way how to innovate from his restaurant, expanding, not necessarily staying local, but potentially starting something from there, like express menu or street tacos.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
This one is more on the ground, and that is that you have a number of businesses around you, and while a lot of them are closed, I would suggest that you put together a little flyer. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but it needs to be well enough designed so that people remember it. And tell them that you'll bring lunch or breakfast or whatever over to their office, and you'll deliver it to them, and then you give them a discount based on how many people you're bringing it for. That would create a lot of volume. If you could have somebody do burritos for their employees, and they've got 50 or 100 employees, that would give you a whole lot of additional business occasionally when they did that. And you may find that people are doing special things for employees because they're having to come in and battle COVID-19, and they want them to feel comfortable about that. And if they bring food, they also want to know that you've done all of the social distancing and all of the safety issues that they've already mentioned that you have done. And so that makes it perfect for you to say, hey, this is how we do it. We keep everything sanitary. We'll bring it over to your place of business, and we'll give you a discount as well.
Last one, it's something that could potentially be implemented now, and that's something that he likes.
Martin is interested. We could take a look at those basic numbers and put together break-even analysis and build him a cash flow template so that he can plug in the numbers and get a sense for whether he's going ahead or how far behind he's going. So yeah, we could do that as a second Second meeting. Well, a break even for now
from
would
now?
just be what your current expenses are for the month. Then we could calculate your break even right now, and that would give you an idea as to how much money you're losing right now, or maybe making. Hopefully, you're making money.
David?
Yeah, I would just add on to what Ron was talking about is what he could implement now to bring in more traffic or more sales was that hard flyer print. Do it digitally and put it on your Google My Business page. I've seen they have a Google My Business page, so I would take that hard copy and also duplicate that out and put it on your social media platforms and start to engage with your audience and see if you can bring in traffic that way.
We'll leave it on maybe coming up with another seminar using actual real break-even analysis example in a cash flow.
People love Maria's food. People loved it. I've heard about it. I didn't know that was the same owner that you were talking about it. I heard a lot of people talk about it. So
it's amazing food, man.
They would love to hear that there's some type of delivery or some type of special if they get to the people, get it out there. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they would enjoy it.
Too. And so I would just kind of leave by saying, be sure, don't be shy in asking people for help. By that, I mean, tell them to post it to their social media networks, tell them to give you recommendations, and go to Yelp and give you good reviews. All those things are nice and helpful, and you have a reputation that is well earned, but a lot more people could know about that. And don't be bashful in asking them to help out, because all restaurants need all the help they can get right now.
I wanted to say that similar to that is anybody that's listening to this that's in the San Bernardino, Colton, Loma Linda, in Southern California, even if Ontario, Upland, or West Covina, I definitely recommend the drive. One of my favorite dishes is the chile relleno from there. It's amazing. Martin adds this really amazing flavor to it, and I really want to make sure I give a big shout out to them. I also want to give a shout out to Alan Stanley. We're broadcasting live from the Enterprise Building in downtown San Bernardino, and there's a lot of innovative ideas on how to bring food to the communities, and maybe later on we can have him on this video one day, see what ideas he can bring to the community. He's on the logistics field, so really excited to have him and helping out. And
we just wanted to thank everyone, our whole community, for the people that have came and bought food from us. A lot of people have done in generous amounts, the generous tips they have given us, and for thanking them for keeping us open, because they are the ones that are keeping us open.
I don't know, you guys still open. Not only that, but your food is amazing. After this, I'm probably going to go buy some burritos and take them to my mom.
Yeah, makes me hungry.